Afternoon and welcome to this webinar. My name is Seth Clark and I'm the Director of Pre-Construction at Bensonwood. I work with homeowners and architects to build advanced high-performance homes using off-site construction. And joining me today is Amanda Wiglinski.
Hi there. I'm the Bensonwood Design Group team leader, and we work with a group of architects and designers leading clients through the process of design of their home. We focus specifically on custom homes and the newly launched OpenHome product line, which we're going to be talking about today. And we're absolutely dedicated to creating sustainable, energy efficient, beautiful, and inspiring homes that promote healthier living and happier living.
Yeah, and in our work on a day-to-day, we get contacted by many people who are looking for a fresh start. They're becoming increasingly aware of the impact that poor construction methods have on their well-being. So many homeowners live in unhealthy homes due to rapid and careless construction means, cheap materials, even sometimes in relatively new homes. These are often stiflingly dark and poorly insulated and unhealthy, and it raises health concerns for their families, their young children, and aging parents.
Yeah, many people feel frustrated and unsure of how to start planning for their new construction project. It's very overwhelming. There's a lot of decisions to make, and the homeowners often struggle to realize their dream of a unique home due to high cost, limited skilled labor, or being overwhelmed by the myriad of decisions. So finding the right partners for a strong start in the building process can be challenging.
Yeah. So the way we want to set up this conversation today is by posing this dilemma that I think is a very common one, which is this idea that you want to build an environmentally responsible way. And you want that home to also be an embodiment of your values in that way, but the technical considerations are myriad and they are overwhelming to so many people. And more to the point, your home ought to be something that is inspiring and beautiful, something that you love. And we're just going to actually start this conversation by posing this idea of, where do you begin? And what do you need to consider in order to have it all? Balancing aesthetics and with comfort, with your ambitions for energy efficiency, and how to achieve that. Well, at Bensonwood, we feel like the home process and the design is an expression of self-expression, and it's a place that needs to reflect and reaffirm who you are, whether it's a modern, bold, and dynamic home, or whether it's a relaxed and inviting home. Every home, we believe, makes a statement, and it should do so while embracing you with a sense of ease and of deep satisfaction. A home can be where design excellence combines with flawless execution and where every detail feels deliberate and composed. And each feature, each reveal is carefully orchestrated to create a harmonious sense of balance and space and connection with the outdoors. No matter the particular taste or style of your home, a new home should feel whole and complete. It should be well suited to its environment. It doesn't mean that you have to have everything. It's about having what matters. And it needs to be situated in such a way that feels, well, it feels like home, right? Above all, it needs to foster a sense of place and a home. So
let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about ideas about how to make a success of your next home building project. And we'll also be looking at this through the lens of performance and outlining what's possible through a design build approach using offsite manufacturing capabilities from Bensonwood. So first, Seth is going to start by discussing the ways that we optimize a home design for sustainability and energy efficiency. I'm going to introduce you to some of the highlights and benefits of OpenHome designs as a ready solution to build a truly unique, high-performance home. And we'll also share details about Bensonwood's design build process and how to get started. So we invite you all to follow along and add your questions in the question and answer window, and we'll take a look at those at the end and try to answer some of your questions.
So just to get started in terms of this term we keep using, right? High performance. Why should you care about building to a high performance level? And what do we do differently that optimizes for that superior outcome? For us, a high-performance home is a well-designed home, and it's one that far exceeds the baseline standards of conventional construction in these 5 key values. A home that promotes health and well-being for its occupants, increases the comfort in that living space, provides a more predictable home building process, yes, the process, but also more predictable outcomes, and a home that is sustainable in its energy efficiency and its use of materials, and a home that's resilient, durable, and something that can last for generations. So to take each of these in its own order, it's sometimes helpful to actually compare what we mean by high efficiency and high performance relative to the alternative. I think many are familiar with the downsides of conventional construction, and one of them is that in the course of construction, a home can be exposed to a lot of adverse conditions, particularly the elements, right? It can spend months in framing where it's open to the rain and snow, as you can see here. And those problems can remain unmitigated, even to the point where the building gets closed up. And so you have the perfect opportunity now to seed problems like mold that can lead to health-related issues for the occupants, but also can lead to literally to the possible failure of the build.
We actually had a client reach out to us recently from Dedham, Mass, and they were living in an unhealthy home that was full of mold. And it was really actually pretty heartbreaking to see the health effects that they're sustaining because they live in an unhealthy house. And so we really felt like we could be a solution to that for somebody who's highly sensitive to mold.
Yeah, it really became a driver for the project that we launched with them. And many people come to us with that same concern. One of the common causes of mold problems in a home in conventional construction is just poor moisture management. So what we're illustrating here on the left is a sort of a section cut of a wall with traditional 2x6 framing and the white fiberglass or pink fiberglass insulation sandwiched between layers of the sheathing on the outside and this blue barrier here that is called the vapor barrier. It's a sheet of thin plastic, polyethylene, and that's meant to keep that moisture from moving into the wall. Moisture wants to move. And the problem is it really moves well when there's a draft. So a leaky wall can bring drafts of air that has moisture in it into the wall, and that moisture can get trapped. And the effect is that when it gets trapped in there, it condenses into water, and there you go. You have the start of a mold problem. So we think the key to prevention is to prioritize a really tightly sealed building envelope that carefully manages humidity migration. The interior of your home should be very carefully designed to humidify and dehumidify with the changing seasons. And it should anticipate that moisture is going to move. And there is occasionally, there are cases where moisture, when it finds its way in for whatever reason, needs to find its way out. So Bensonwood builds this robust building enclosure you see here that is based on dense packed cellulose insulation and is protected between layers of OSB chipboard. And that is what acts as the vapor barrier, but it's an open vapor barrier, which means it allows that moisture, if it should find its way in, to find its way out and dry effectively.
You'll notice here actually in the image that we also tape all of the seams of the intersecting OSB panels from the inside and also where the wall panels actually come together. And we'll see an image coming up on the exterior how we deal with that as well.
Now, the way we achieve these results is by building in a factory in an off-site construction manner. We build these walls, floors, and roofs as panels in warm, dry factory space. And they include everything from the framing, the insulation, and the windows and doors, all pre-installed in the factory. And then we bundle those up, as you see here, on a flatbed truck wrapped in boat wrap to protect them and keep them dry. And then we personally deliver them to the job site, and our skilled technicians install those in the field. We see it all the way through to this outcome of a warm, dry shell that's been carefully managed all the way through, ensuring the very best possible outcomes for insulation and airtightness.
General contractors, I was just going to mention that they also like it as well because the job site's really secure and they can work in all seasons.
That's right. So here you're seeing the way the process comes together a little bit on a sped up version, but we use sort of the old-fashioned techniques of barn raising. with the help of a crane. A small crew will help and assemble those in rapid fashion. So closely associated with health and safety is the idea of comfort, right? The major benefit of a high performance build from Bensonwood is that you get this airtight shell, no drafts, but it's also consistent as you move through the space. My house is not this way. I have rooms that are cold, rooms that are hot, but it just maintains an even temperature throughout the home. The idea too that it can be tightly controlled in terms of its humidity with dehumidification, and that in the process of treating that air, warming it, cooling it, depending on the season, you also have the opportunity to filter the air so that your indoor air quality is literally going to be superior to that what you would experience outside in like pollen season, right, or wildfires and smoke. And then these homes are quiet, and a key part to your comfort is just right sizing the home. And Amanda's going to be talking a little bit more about that, how we do that in our designs. We keep talking about this air tightness. Well, the way we measure air tightness is with what's called a blower door test. And this is critically, it is done at the end of our raising, but before any of the finishes are installed. We negatively pressurize the building using a big fan like you see there on the left. And we measure that air infiltration to see how much is coming into the building. And we fix any problems before any of the drywall and the tile and the hardwood floors and things are installed.
Yeah, it provides a great baseline actually for us, because later on when the project is finished, we ask the general contractor to do the same. And it's a great benchmark to check against, because of course there's a lot of penetrations that are put into the wall after we leave. And so great double check there.
A home that is this well sealed and airtight, there should be no reason why it wouldn't be what we call net zero ready. An all electric home that doesn't use fossil fuel and uses all electric that could be easily supplied with on-site renewables. And we'll talk more about that. Predictability. We talked about the predictability of the process and the outcome. Well, where this rubber really meets the road is that we develop these homes through the virtues of 3D modeling. And we build what we call a digital twin. And we learn so much about the project through the development of this model, because we're able to coordinate all the many systems that are inside a building. It's modeled to such a high degree of accuracy that we know exactly how many nails, fasteners, studs, sheets of plywood are going to go into this. So our estimates are extremely accurate. And it informs a lot about our production schedule. Speaking of schedule, the predictability of an offsite build is just leagues better than what you find in conventional construction. Illustrated here, you can see it's sort of a linear process that's sequential. You really can't get a jump on later stages until you've completed each one. By comparison, what we prioritize is something we call parallel processing. We begin doing some of that 3D modeling and that really the pre-planning of the build at an early stage, even while our architects are completing the design. And what that enables us to do, obviously, is reduce the time that we spend on site. And yes, we can move in faster, but critically, compare these two chunks here. The time that we spend raising our panels versus the time that you would spend framing, installing windows, insulation, and air sealing, literally is reduced by upwards of 70 to 80%. And that is the time when you are most critically exposed. When we talked about taking on moisture and snow and elements, by reducing that time and getting to a weather-tight envelope faster, we literally de-risk the project in a significant way.
On a typical residential project, it might take 2 or 3 weeks to raise the building.
Well, that's exactly what this project here that you're seeing. We saw an animation or a video of the raising. They did that in the space of a week and a half. We feel like this is really the key to achieving the best outcomes. It's doing as much as we can off-site in a factory, bringing it to the site and making it as fast, efficient, and protected as possible. The other elements of predictability that we have the unfair advantage is that our work is done by a lot of semi-automated fabrication methods. What you're looking at here is a nail gun. That's called the bridge, and it has multi-functions that can both nail and cut out sheathing, and it can be operated by one person. This machinery never has a bad day, and They're operated by skilled experts who are trained by the manufacturers of the equipment. And those are the same experts who also follow your panels out to the job site and install them. And they're working with standardized details. This is a systems-based approach to design, so they're not redefining it and relearning it every time. They're quite good at what they do, and it's proven with all the quality control testing that is baked into the process along the way. So as we shift to talking about sustainability, I'm trying to go quickly, so apologies if I'm talking too fast. For us, sustainability really starts with the materials we use and how much of it, and the materials that are wasted in the construction process. Amanda, I was shocked actually to learn that the EPA says that on a typical single-family home, construction generates upwards of 8,000 pounds, 4 tons of waste in the process. Now,
it's surprising.
It's shocking, but it's not altogether surprising when you think of when you drive through a neighborhood and you see a house in construction. It's a very common sight to see a dumpster out front or even a pile of offcuts. It's just a natural result of sort of noodling and working through the carpentry there in the field. It's very hard to optimize and get things right. Well, for us, the answer to that is, first of all, we prioritize responsibly sourced materials just as a baseline. Wood, right? It's a renewable resource. It holds carbon for generations. But then we also minimize the waste as much as we can through the use of precision manufacturing. What that looks like is this. This, what you're staring at, is the bay where our lumber is held. Those are 32-foot long boards picked up by a robot and fed into a machine that is able to process them so efficiently that it minimizes the amount of offcuts. It's taking information directly from that 3D model and optimizing the number of pieces that it can get out of each long piece. In point of fact, we don't bring any waste with us to the job site, apart from the boat wrap.
Right, which we recycle later on.
We bring it home and recycle it, yeah. So that's a key feature to our sustainability strategy. The other is, we're designing, as we have mentioned many times, for energy efficiency. And so these homes use very little energy, and we deploy strategies such as the use of air-to-water heat pump technology for heating and cooling, on-site renewable energy sources, sometimes ground-mounted solar or sometimes roof-mounted, and geothermal.
Geothermal, yep.
And then we focus on other strategies. Sort of downstream from that is placing amenities that are sort of known offenders to energy efficiency, like fireplaces, which we love. But put those in a place like a smart place, like an unconditioned space, such as a 3-season porch.
It's also a great benefit for that because the indoor air quality just stays better if you're having the particulate outside of the house from a fireplace.
Absolutely. And then to just round this conversation out, the idea of resilience is something we think a lot about. Designing homes that can last for generations is a big driver of what we do. We're thinking in terms of long-range and short-range resilience. And a lot of homeowners are thinking the same way. They're coming to us thinking about the future. They're planning for what seems to be more frequent occurrences of utility outages or market volatility due to climate change. And they're also thinking about their evolving needs, right? They're not just designing for their comfort, but they're thinking also in terms of later generations when their children may inherit a property. Now, the priority is on serviceability, durability, adaptability. So in response, Bensonwood thinks the same way. Our structures are adaptable. In fact, we prioritize, for instance, we don't use bearing walls whenever we can avoid it. We'll avoid that so that the floor plans can be easily renovated in the future. We use post and beam instead. And we also design the homes to be all electric, as we've mentioned. And that electrical service can be readily accessed here, as this image shows on the right, directly behind the drywall, not intermingled, if you will, with all the insulation and other services in the building. And then we're also thinking in terms of just resiliency in an emergency kind of basis. Turns out these homes are very good for sheltering in place. This was a test that was done in 2022 where the homeowners actually shut the power off on their building, turned it off in the middle of the dead of winter. And you can see with the bottom line there that was just bouncing all over the place in terms of the outdoor temperatures, including getting well below zero, -10 degrees Fahrenheit. The indoor temperature, by contrast, dipped very little. and in fact never dropped below, I think, 50 degrees, most of the time hovering around 60 degrees on most days. That's the effect of a really well insulated. And that kind of comfort. It's a luxury that you just can't find anywhere else.
Well, thanks, Seth. That was really helpful. And
I went on.
no, it's great. Yeah, let's transition now to OpenHome specifically, and we'll talk a bit more about that. So I thought it'd be helpful to start with thinking about what OpenHome is and where it fits in Bensonwood's umbrella of brands. So we have three brands: Unity Homes, OpenHome in the middle, and then Bensonwood Custom. So let's start with Unity Homes. They provide 5 different design platforms: the VARM, the Xyla, the Zoom, the Trad, and the Nano, which offer pre-designed floor plans and within a design system of options. Unity provides a cost-effective entry point into design for clients, and there's also a cost efficiency in the build side as well. We're able to achieve these efficiencies by limiting the ability to customize the designs and also having a very streamlined process. Many Unity clients have a do-it-yourself attitude, and they work closely with their GC to make a lot of the decisions, and also with some help from our sales advisors. So OpenHome offers a straightforward architect-guided process that is designed to develop a distinctive home with exceptional value. We utilize really the collective intelligence of our 50-year history, and we imagine homes that will suit a variety of our clients' needs, ranging from 1 bedroom to 5 bedrooms. OpenHome really leverages a starting point. So we start from a known design that's ready to go, it's out of the box, and it helps get you into your home faster and eliminates decision fatigue. Whereas OpenHome is starting from a known point in the design process, Bensonwood Custom, on the other hand, is starting from 0. And so the sky's the limit. The Bensonwood Custom approach is appropriate for clients who are really wanting to build a legacy home. So even though there's these different tiers of services that we provide in different design paths, I think it's really important to note that all of the product quality is the same. So a wall that we're providing to a client in a Unity home would also be the same level and same product as something in a Bensonwood custom home. So within OpenHome, there's 2 ways that a client can move through the design process with our in-house team, and we call it express and modified. So what we're going to show you today are considered express designs. It's what you will see on the website currently as well. And we essentially will consider your unique site, because everybody's site is different, and your programming needs. So that's things like, how many bathrooms do you want? How many bedrooms? Do you need a den? Do you need a separate TV room? So we'll think of all of those things together, and we'll utilize an express plan to begin exploring how OpenHome can meet those needs. If the express plan isn't exactly suiting the needs of the project, then we can make minimal design revisions under the express path.
So some of those you could think about are like rotating the plan on the site,
Right.
flipping it, mirroring it.
Right. We want to be able to serve a variety of different site needs with our express plans. So if the personalization that you need is more significant, we can expand the contract to what we call the modified path, which allows for more flexibility in design changes, but still within the parameters of the OpenHome design system. So in summary, we like to think of OpenHome fitting kind of neatly between the standardization of Unity and the customization of an OpenHome of a Bensonwood custom project.
So we'll try and kind of refer back as we go through this to help clarify, how those 2 approaches work. I do want to say that in addition to Bensonwood's own designs, OpenHome includes collections from 2 partner architect firms. What you have on the left is Lake Flato out of San Antonio, Texas, and the one in the center is Kieran Timberlake, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Each of them are noteworthy pioneers, both for high performance and sustainability, as well as for offsite construction. And so they're natural partners with us. We hope to include those partners in some future presentations so you can hear more directly from them. Because we have Amanda with us today, we're going to be focusing more on the Bensonwood offering to go into greater detail on that. But we invite you to take a look at their designs as well on our website and learn more about it in greater detail.
All right, so let's just start with the basis of how OpenHome works at a plan level. I think that's really helpful for people to just kind of ground themselves. So OpenHome is delineated into two cores. We're calling the cores a public core here, seen in yellow, and a private core here, seen in green. And the difference between the two is really the functions that are within them. So in the public core, we have the kitchen, living, and dining room, kind of the noisier public spaces. And in the private core, we would have things like bedrooms and bathrooms, what we call flex spaces. We know since COVID that people are looking for a lot of those types of spaces now. And then ancillary spaces like the stairs, if needed, and the mechanical room. So the way that we've gone about designing this is by really fixing the parameters of the size of these cores. And so we start out with 24-foot widths, and that's an interior dimension. So both the public core and the private core are 24 feet wide. And the length of the public core is fixed at 36 feet long, unless you choose our smallest OpenHome, which has a smaller 18-foot public core. The private core comes in three different standard lengths, so a 40, a 48, and a 56. And essentially, as each of those get longer, it correlates with additional bedrooms, and the space just gets more gracious. The cores are joined together in this T shape you're seeing here in plan. And it's important to note that the public core is always a one-story vaulted form. So from the inside, we're sort of celebrating this space with taller ceiling heights because it's your kitchen, your living room, and your dining room. So we're giving some importance to that architecturally. And then the private core can be a one-story form, or it can be 2 stories. Here you're seeing how the public core and private core fit into this larger design concept of components. And so what we're able to do is really to personalize your building is to add things like entry porches and connectors, screen porches, and we're able to do those in fixed locations on the building that we've already established. And so our team essentially has a kit of parts that we're able to use to respond to your design needs and what your site is actually needing as well. So we'll think about things such as approach. If this isn't an in-town lot and you're right on a street, we'll want to, likely be facing the street. But if it's in a more rural location, we're going to think about things like solar orientation and views from the building, out to the out of doors. So we have a lot of tools in the kit that we can use to personalize your particular building.
We talk about OpenHome, the design system. There's a lot of rules about how these pieces are deployed and attached in order to leverage that system and the engineering that's already been pre-baked into the process in order to bring you the best value and schedule time savings. And so that's why it's more the designer's kit of parts than it is, for the rest of us, because that's the process they're leading you through, and they're going to bring you a solution that meets your needs. And obviously you get to approve it.
Yeah, and so with this kit of parts, essentially, there's a variety of ways and it yields a variety of designs. And so you're seeing 3 of those. We're going to look through them today, also on our website, but we have other configurations also that we're working on and hope to release soon. So here you're seeing a diagram of essentially, we're taking the public core and the private core, and we're adding a screen porch, a garage, an entry connector, and a front porch, and we're able to translate that then into a plan. So here you're seeing what we call BW 2700. So the way that we've named these are related to about how many square feet the building has. So this has 2,700 square feet approximately. And we consider this an express plan. Again, it means it could be purchased just as is, and then you would work with our design team to outfit the interiors and the exterior of the building. And we would propose finish selections, and that ultimately makes it uniquely yours. So notice the public core here. Make it down
Yeah,
here.
you got a point there on the
There,
lower screen.
yeah, so here's the public core here, and then the private core is in this section here. So this 2,700 square foot building has 2 bedrooms with what we consider a flex space. So here's towards the back of the building. There's a bedroom here, and then an office or flex space, which could also be used as a 3rd bedroom. Currently, all of our designs are considered slab on grade, which can be, but they can be configured to have a basement or a lower level walkout. And we've given some thought to what we might do to change the plan. That would fall under our modified category, but we've got a way to essentially keep the core of this building and be able to add a stair to the basement.
So a slab on grade, you mean like a concrete
Right.
floor,
Right.
but that doesn't necessarily need finish, right? They can apply other finishes. You
Correct.
have a hard floor.
You can have a hardwood floor, right? That's just the subs we're essentially building. So in this design, the entry door is towards this is on the small side of the building. So we'll see that when we're looking at the 3Ds here coming up. But we have opportunities in the designs to have the entry be on the broad side of the building. And you can imagine this whole thing getting rotated counterclockwise 90 degrees, and the broad side of the building would be facing the street. So let's take a look at that in 3D. It'll be a little bit easier to show you. So here's an exterior rendering, and this is just one potential outcome of how the exterior might be viewed. You know, this could be a clapboarded building that's painted white, honestly. And so that's one of the neat flexibilities with OpenHome, that we're able to offer you different packages of finishes on the exterior and the interior, again, that make it uniquely yours.
Yeah, it could completely transform the character of the house. This one has a very sort of modern, I think of it almost like a Japanese sort of modern quality to it. But it could be completely different depending on how you did the siding.
Yes.
and window trim. And
So this is the entry door here, and that's something that we're able to provide and build in-house. So it's a high-performance entry door with a triple glaze side light. You know, as a client, you're able to pick a different finish, different wood species. So again, there is still choices among these fixed parameters that we have set up. And you can see we have this, what we call our kind of signature lattice, OpenHome lattice, that's showing up, and it's really announcing the front of the building. So it's architecturally, we're giving it some more importance.
this might be a good moment to mention that part of what you're getting with OpenHome, as distinct from some other offerings that we have, is access to the full craftsmanship of Bensonwood.
Right.
So that lattice may be manufactured as well and supplied to your GC. Things like interior doors, architectural millwork, screen porches, the panels that you see in this picture that contain that screen porch would be manufactured here in New Hampshire and brought to the site, generally installed by the GC.
Yeah, so exactly. This is just a great view of what we're considering sort of the backyard of the house. And we have extended porch off of the living room and the dining room space, which you can see here in plan. Come back down here again. So here in the public core, we have the kitchen space here that buried a little bit deeper into the plan, and then the living room and the dining room are towards the outside. They can be reconfigured. You know, I can imagine a scenario where the dining room table would be rotated 90 degrees and be parallel with the island, and that the seating arrangement for the living room would, you know, would completely change. But what's really interesting about this design is the way that we've thought about sort of the vistas and views from the house and out to the out of doors. We think that really enriches a design when you're able, from various vantage points in a house, to be able to stand somewhere and see directly out through different vistas of windows that are very strategically placed. So let's take a look at the inside and see some of those vistas. So starting off here, we're entering into what we would call the guest mudroom, but also has storage for you, seasonal storage for sure. And this is where the front door is right behind us, and we're kind of looking through. We're looking through into the building. The narrow opening that you're seeing beyond that leads to what is considered the kind of more private spaces of the second bedroom, the powder room bathroom, which your guests would be able to use, and then the primary suite beyond. And we're clearly delineating that that is a more private space by this kind of smaller opening that we're creating. So when you come in, you have a lot of storage. That's we know that's really important to clients, to have just a lot of storage, but also have it to be a very bright and cheery space. One of the ways that we bring a lot of light into the house and views out from the house, designing pretty large windows. So I think it's important to note that our head height, so the top of the window, is closer to 7'6", and maybe in a standard house you might see 6'8".
Yeah.
And then our windows itself are also larger, so they can be 5 or 6 feet wide, you know, by 5 or 6 feet tall in some cases. So here we've stepped kind of around the corner and we're core, and you can see we're underneath this flat ceiling right now that's establishing the location of the kitchen. I feel like that's really helpful to the architecture to have the kitchen a little bit more anchored, and then the vault kind of rises on as you look into the space. Here you're also catching a glimpse out through the screen porch, which is also has that kind of lacy lattice, so you're getting that view out. And I can imagine a scenario, sure, you just keep that door open at the end of the space, weather is good, and able to really bleed into outdoor living, but still be protected from bugs.
This is a great example of what we were talking about earlier in terms of right sizing and thinking of the human scale. That move to put that flat ceiling over the kitchen has such a dramatic effect where maybe in a less well-considered home, they would just vault the whole thing.
Sure.
And I feel like it provides a bit of transition
Mhm.
as you're heading into that space, but it also kind of demarcates the kitchen as a special place, right? Where you might need the entertainment space, right? Happening directly overhead while you're trying to cook.
We think it's really important to have this space that can be open to the living room and dining room, because we think it's foster togetherness. So we just feel like this is a good approach architecturally.
It is an option. If you need to create some separation, you could put a wall
You
if you
can.
wanted.
You can. Yes, we've also looked at options where the kitchen, dining room, and living room are a bit more linear, and there's walls in between with circulation on the exterior.
That kind of just adjustment be what you would consider possible within the express plan, or would that sort of with a modified plan?
No, I think that could definitely be possible in the express plan.
Yeah.
In the sense we're tweaking some things about the interior, but the exterior walls are staying in. It's really important.
Structure remains the
Right.
same, the volumes, yeah.
So here we flipped around and we're looking at the other end, looking back towards the flat ceiling of the kitchen. And you're seeing peeking kind of around the corner is what we consider a kind of an open pantry. We know a lot of people love their pantry, so we tried to ensure that you have good storage space in each of these designs. And for this particular design, we can imagine a scenario where when you have guests over, that door that you're seeing in the background that leads out to a convenient way to get to the primary suite would stay closed. So it's again keeping that private part of the space, clearly private. But if it's just whoever's living there as the client, you could surely open that up, and that would be a great convenience access to sneak back to the bedroom or to the bathroom if needed. So here we're at the end of the public core, or the private core, I should say, and we're in the primary suite. We're seeing the potential outcome of what the interiors for the space might look like. So that window is in a really important location because again, it's providing the vista kind of from the front door, but the bed is again tucked away, so it's still feeling private. In this case, the headboard wall is fully rendered with wood, and that could be drywall. There's a lot of different ways, but for this particular, that's one of the ways that you can uniquely, have a personal touch on your home, just depending on how that wall is done, for instance.
It's important for aesthetics, but it may also be an important dial to be able to turn in terms of budget.
Yes, true. So behind that panelized wall is what we consider a 5-fixture primary bathroom. And of course, this could be done in a lot of different ways. We're showing this here clearly for a couple having 2 sinks and then a separate soaking tub and a separate shower. I can imagine a scenario for ADA accessibility or mobility issues that you might just want to have a large shower in this area and eliminate the tub.
Mhm.
So we've thought ahead, and one of the things that we think is really important is just how does this home grow with you over the seasons of your life. And so, there is the potential as we get older to have mobility issues. And so we've been thoughtful about designing doors, interior doors, for instance, that are 36 inches wide. And so you can easily get a wheelchair or a walker through them. So yeah, we just want to make sure that we're doing things that are flexible for the future and can serve you in a variety of ways. I just thought I'd pop this in to show, this is the micro that I was mentioning. So there is that 18-foot public core. So this is our smallest open home at 1,600 square feet. And I thought this slide was actually pretty useful because when we start out in the design process, when we're working with you, we'll actually kind of start in this white, what we call the white box mode. And as we select finishes and as we make decisions, then we start to provide renderings that are more closely associated with what I've been showing you before. So here's the plan for the micro. Again, you can see the smaller public core here. And this is what we're considering a 2-bedroom or a 1-bedroom with a flex space. And again, it's about 1,600 square feet.
What I love about this plan is how the spaces kind of bleed into each other. You see the kitchen kind of overlaps from the public core into the private core. That's going to make for this sensation when you're inside the house of a very integrated space, not separated out in segments, but really flowing one space into another.
All right, so we wanted to show you another express plan that's a little bit larger, and it's what we call the BW 3400. So again, that's correlating to about the approximate square footage, so 3,400 square feet. You'll notice here that same T shape if we look, but we've just rotated it. So here's the public core here to the north of the screen, and here's the private core to the south. And now you're seeing that the entry door is actually on the broad side of the building. So this is really going to change things. And it's a small point, but it actually has a really big impact where you locate your entry door, whether it's on the short side of a building or the broad side. And with OpenHome, we have options for doing both of those things. This is our a 2-story offering. So again, just to reiterate, the public core is going to stay as a 1-story vaulted space. The private core is what ends up being a double height space. And so we're taking advantage of that second floor. So this is a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath. And again, we're thinking about accessibility and mobility issues, and again, how one might age in place in this particular design. And so we've created a primary suite on the first floor here that you can see to the right of the screen. And we've had some clients actually who haven't needed that space, and they're using it as a den, a second TV room for their college-aged kids to come back to, and also it then can pair as a guest suite for them as well when they come back. So again, lots of flexibility in how the plan can be utilized. You can see this space here that's kind of on the back side of the kitchen. We have this walk-through pantry, and we've configured that in a variety of ways too. It could be door to one side. Again, it could be something. It could be part of a larger primary suite if we ended up putting a door here. This could be the walk-in closet, and we could grow this bathroom space here. So we're trying to think of different ways that this can be flexible and just meet a lot of people's needs. So let's look at the second floor. So here there are 2 dedicated bedrooms on the second floor with also this kind of open sitting space. Could also be another area for an office. Yeah, so lots of different ways that this could be approached. The open stairwell portion also has extra storage here, but that could be more open and bleed into the sitting room and be more like a reading nook. So we have skylights that are above this space. We really think it's important for us to be bringing in light from above and have this be just a really bright and comfortable space. So you'll notice that even though this is for OpenHome, using the same design system, that this iteration looks really different than the first one that we showed. And we've done that by obviously changing the massing, but doing a more traditional approach to the exterior. So we have, a white clapboarded building. We've paid a particular attention to the roof trim and really elevated the roof trim, and also the trim that is around the columns at the front entry. We've done divided lights instead of no lights in the windows, just a 1 pane. So I think this just, shows the range of flexibility that we can have.
All that is surface deep, right? And can be adapted. If you preferred more of a contemporary style like the other one, this could be adapted to have that same style.
So here it is from the streetscape. Again, the doors to the front of the front, and there's an enclosed connector. Again, we have open connectors for different styles of design. And we also think garages are really important, especially for those who are living in New England with challenging weather. So one thing I'd also like to mention is just that in all of these designs, we typically have a front door that's, for a guest, for the public, and also an entry through a connector of some sort from the garage so that you're being led to the space. And if you have muddy boots, you have containment for that in the mudroom. So it's just flipping around and showing kind of a more traditional approach to a screen porch. But again, those are panels and components that we can provide as part of the open home design. And you're seeing here in the public core that there's opportunity to have more glazing on the gable end or the short side of the building, but also we can do it along the broad side as well. So if you have views that are in two directions on your lot, then this is a great way to take advantage of that. And the screen porch kind of creates this nice niche that you're able to have an area and a patio in your backyard.
Some skylights there as well above the stair.
Yes.
That's nice.
So looking at this plan in a little bit more detail, we can actually see that mudroom and laundry room here. That's, again, really generous. We want to make sure that we're providing enough storage for, a larger family that might be living here. That's, seasonal storage. And also think it's nice to have a place for the washer and dryer to be anchored there as well.
Is that access back to a porch on the backside?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, through double doors. We've had some clients that we've talked to actually consider this as a potential second office, and we've done the storage, we've reconfigured the storage in more so in the pantry, actually. They've had less pantry and more seasonal storage. So again, kind of just showing that flexibility. So here on the inside, we're looking at the public core again from that kind of flat ceiling in the kitchen. And you can see that the structure is rendered completely differently. So before we had just a single ridge beam along the ridge, and then we had rafters. Now we have a king post truss. And so in the express plan, you're able to select the expression of timber frame structure that you like. Some people are really wanting to do something that's a little more pared back, and some like to lean into that. So we're giving you flexibility and options with that. We have two different timber frames that we use, two different species. We use a Nordic spruce that's coming out of Canada and a Douglas fir glulam that is coming from the West Coast. And we really like working with the glulams because they're very attractive, number one. They're very structurally robust. We can, get great capacity out of them. And they also just are very stable. They don't move. They don't shrink and crack the way that a traditional timber frame solid sawn piece would.
When we talk about glue laminated beams, we're talking about those pieces of wood that are made to form those trusses, the triangular shapes above, and it's made up of a lot of smaller sticks of wood glued together in such a way that it's more efficient. I think you said this, more efficient than even if you were to make that out of a solid piece of wood. And it uses smaller trees, more renewable as a resource, as opposed to cutting down big trees. Yeah.
So here we're flipping around to the other side now, looking back towards the kitchen. And so you can see in the plan, the circulation is, different than the first plan we showed, where we have circulation on both sides, and then the pantry is buried sort of conveniently behind the kitchen. All right, and we will take you through, I think, one more of our express plans here, which we call the BW 4000. So again, 4,000 square feet. So in this case, the public core is always what's growing. It's getting longer in this direction, and I think I said that backwards. So the public core stays the same, and the private core is what's growing longer. So we're seeing kind of a bigger footprint of a plan here. We've switched back to having now the entry door on the short side of the building, and you can see the garage it is facing south on this. So this would be sort of what we would consider the front entry approach here. Let's just click through to also the second floor here. So we're seeing this as a the potential of a 5-bedroom house. So this is currently our biggest open home. But again, we do imagine that a larger family might want to have some of these bedrooms be utilized for office spaces, especially if both parents work from home. Some of our clients have wanted, a yoga space or a gym, a space for stretching. And so these spaces can have multiple uses.
I noticed that the bedrooms all on the second floor don't have ensuite bathrooms. It's more of like a family bath arrangement.
Right.
But that's something you could change if somebody wanted their primary suite up on the.
For sure. There could be a different arrangement of, where we would add a door to create more of an ensuite situation. So if we just think here for a second on the fly, this bedroom here on the left could become an office. There could be a door here. This creates a suite on this side. All right, and so from the front side here, again, we're seeing a totally different representation again, a little bit more of a modern but Scandinavian flavor. We've done some different things with the window treatment in terms of their scale and their placement. You can see the glass, the glazing is really big. We're really leaning into, again, those views and vistas, and we think daylight is very important. So we're providing really large windows. The way that this design is oriented is we're using the garage in a way to kind of create a protected area that is around the front door. And you can see, even in this case, the landscaping, we're leaning into creating this area of landscape, but also allowing this open connector. So you can see here, we can actually see through the building. And we think that's really valuable. We're actually working on a project right now in Connecticut that's utilizing this design, and their site is just so beautiful. And it really felt important not to have a building just block the view that they get to see from the backyard. And so we like the idea of using this open connector design to be able to see through the building and also separate those forms so they feel like they live a little lighter on the land. So here, approaching the entry door again, that's one of our standard entry doors that you get a choice of in OpenHome. And then you're seeing some of our posts here. We use Porterford cedar on the outside. It's a really robust wood. Bugs don't like it. It's fairly rot resistant. And so that's often the species that we're looking to on the exterior. And here we're just kind of flipping around, and you're seeing the public core on the left side of the screen. And in this case, we actually have the screen porch, as like the others I've shown, coming off of the living space. But in that project in Connecticut that I'm working on, we actually took that screen porch and we put it on the back side of the private core. So we transformed how this particular open home looked. And that had to do with the fact that the client's site in Connecticut really had beautiful views out the end of this wall, and it just felt like a misfortune to kind of put the screen of a screen porch in front of it. So flipping around to the backside, here's where, this really is the backyard, and the garage is kind of beyond, hidden by the two-story form. And here's where you can see that it would be very easy to take that screen porch and then put it onto the backside of the two-story form. So again, we have lots of flexibility, and that's something that we could even do in an express plan. So just looking at some of the images on the inside. So this is kind of a unique solution where we brought the we kept the living space to the end and brought the kitchen kind of tucked around. And so it's now parallel with the dining room. So there's a zone more to the front of the public core. And it opens up this wider space now because we've removed, where the pantry was or the mechanical room in the first design. And we've opened it up to this open stairwell, which you can see a little bit of the railing here, and created a secondary seating area that might be a nice breakfast nook for clients. And so just a really different configuration. Again, we're doing a king post truss, but this is in the spruce, whereas in the previous design, we were showing you the Douglas fir glulam. So you can see how different the interiors really can look. Also based on what you choose for your wood flooring species and cabinetry. And those are all the kind of decisions that we help you work through. And we've pre-curated many of those items, which I'm going to be showing you here in just a few minutes. So here's flipping around from the living room side and looking out to that open stair, and you can kind of see some of the light from the skylight, glazing that painting beyond. So lots of different ways to configure your public core, which we think is really important, especially based on your views from your site and how it's oriented on the site. All right.
Like seeing that stair right through their space there. It really feels more like an entertaining kind of space, the way you could see people arriving and
Absolutely.
all flowing very naturally.
So let's take a quick peek here in our last few minutes just about our curated finishes. So our team has done a lot of research on various vendors and companies that provide different products for our home. So the way we like to think about it is that if you tip the house upside down and shook it, everything that stays in the house is part of what we would provide and as part of the OpenHome package. And so here you're seeing some choices of cabinetry and wood flooring, timber frame as we talked about, countertops, floor tile and wall tile. So we've looked at many different companies, just making sure that what they're providing has low VOC finishes, if not no VOCs when we can get it. Because again, we're really concerned about indoor air quality, as you mentioned earlier, and how do we keep this home safe and healthy on the inside for the occupants. And on the exterior, we have some other choices here as well. We look at different types of siding, the introduction of stone, and we're very concerned with the durability of finishes. Obviously, on the exterior, we want to have a low maintenance schedule for the life of the building. So lastly, we just thought we'd end with these two pictures of examples in the flesh of an open home public core that has the Douglas fir glulam king post truss. And here you're seeing white oak floors and also white oak cabinetry. We often will do a silestone countertop. I think they're very durable and well made. You're seeing the example of our Unilux windows here, which are our tilt-turn, mid-mounted, triple glazed windows in the background there. And here we also have an image of the outside of a building that might, you're seeing kind of a two-story private core and how it might be a little bit more modern with using standing seam metal roofing, Western red cedar siding that's painted in a dark color.
Excellent. So I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of questions that people have, and we wanted to save the last 5 minutes to be able to address some of those. And I'm imagining that some of the other things we had prepared may be able to help answer those questions. So if I could just pop up the questions here briefly. Sorry. So first question, and thank you. We have to acknowledge our team who's been trying to help answer some of the questions behind the scenes. But is your system appropriate for warm and humid environments like the Southeast US? That's a good question. There's no question that this system is especially good when we're in cold climates. But we're not limited to just the system that we've presented to you today. There are different wall assemblies we would use in the case of more southern climates. But it's a home that will prioritize performance in terms of your energy savings. And so that really tends to really focus on the colder seasons more so than the hotter seasons. But we answer every call that comes in and take each opportunity on its own merits. And so we'd love to talk with you about your project.
Yeah, so it looks like the second question we have is, what is the learning curve for the GC and other trades that would be completing the work that can't be done in the factory? This person's wondering how tough it will be to find local trades willing and able to do everything that Bensonwood doesn't provide. So that's a really great question. And we have actually a whole team of people, our build project management team, that is helping to assist in determine a general contractor that's appropriate for your locale. They really are a partner with us. We really, obviously we do need them to help finish out the work. And so we do have a training that we do with them, the general contractors. We educate them, we meet with them kind of outside of what would be a client meeting to get them up to speed. But I think generally contractors are, they're very bright and they catch on quickly to what we're doing and they really appreciate what we're doing. So it ends up being a really good partnership.
Yeah, something we didn't really talk too much about in this is that what a possibility enabler this is in some remote areas where the labor pool is actually a little slim, especially if you're trying for a high performance home. The existing contractors in the area may very well welcome the partnership of Bensonwood because we bring that hard part that some of them don't have experience in delivering on, for instance, passive house level airtightness. The other thing is it actually opens up the door to some contractors who consider themselves just fit out renovating contractors because they don't want to get into framing. And there's a lot of people in the market who do just that. They finish out projects. They look at our shells as ready to go. And so that will, I think, lead to actually finding a lot of good partners. Can I use my own home plan for OpenHome or Bensonwood Custom? We do work a lot with people who have their own home plans, but we use a different approach that we call tectonics, and you can read all about that on our website. You do need to have your architect as a participant, and we work together with them sort of in an advisory role. Instead of a design build role, we're just more on the build side, but we help consult the architect and and help prepare the project for panelization.
That's great. And then another question is, can you talk about the HVAC and other systems like the heat pumps and how they are integrated into the plans? So in OpenHome, we actually have a three-tiered system of different HVAC options, and we select those, based on, what's the best suited for the client, what kind of heat and cooling are they looking for? Cost obviously is a factor into that, and also what the local trades, how they're able to service in the long term. So we look at those early and upfront, and we also want to make sure that we're planning for if there's, specialty chases or things that that we need to be paying attention to so they're not cropping up later. So we definitely integrate thinking ahead to mechanical and electrical and plumbing in an efficient way as we look at the design.
Yeah, I would say that there's actually a tremendous benefit given the offsite construction process that digital twin allows that work to be very highly coordinated. We want to take as much of the uncertainty and
Yeah.
in point of fact, as much of the thinking away from the job site so that when things arrive in the job site, they fall neatly into place because the thinking has already been done thoroughly ahead of time.
Yeah, and I can share that we thought a lot about where the mechanical room, for instance, is located and where the bathrooms are located relative to that. So we were trying to have, bathrooms on the same side. There's an efficiency of how we're running, plumbing runs, how we're running water and waste lines. So yeah, we've definitely given that some thought.
Well, our time is far spent, and we haven't quite talked as much about the process of getting started, but it really starts with reaching out and talking with us and scheduling a consultation. We can do a phone call with you that is as short as 15 or 20 minutes, just to find out about what's your project drivers, what's really motivating you, what you're finding difficult about the process on your end of things, and how we can support those needs. And so we invite you to do that. We invite you to visit our website that our team has worked so hard to make as clear as possible, and to bring us your questions, your best challenges, because we've got a great team that is ready and willing to help tackle them and support you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We look forward to speaking with you.
Thank you.